So let me tell you what it means. In Africa today, the average age of the African person is 19.4 or 19.6. The average age of the African person. Which means that an average African person today, if you put about 10 Africans in a room, the average age will be 19. Not even 20. Not 21, not 22. Much less 50, 60 or thereabout. What that tells you is that Africa comprises a huge population of young people. If you are going to govern in such a society, you have an obligation to respect that demography. You must not only take them into consideration in your policy design and execution, they must be at the table where those policies are being designed. And that is what His Excellency has done by ensuring that as many young people as possible are serving in government, are heading several parastatals and MDAs of government, and even where government is having to engage members of the public, government is always ensuring that young people are properly represented. It is the same thing that the governor has done for women folk. If women are called the half of humanity, it doesn't make sense that you are the decision-making table and they are not represented. So today, Kwara has set an example, not just in Nigeria, even in Africa, by having the largest number of female cabinet members when His Excellency set out in 2019. Okay, we set that standard, and of course today we also have a law that says that in the cabinet you cannot have below 35% representation for either of the genders, either male or female. So either way, the genders are properly represented, the society is properly represented. So when issues affecting men are being discussed, you have men who are there to defend their interest. When issues affecting women are being debated, you have women at the table who are able to speak to the interests of women. And the essence of governance is to serve the people. The essence of governance will fail when it doesn't have inclusion. So what His Excellency has achieved is to achieve as much inclusion as possible in government. So there is no section of the state that can complain that this government has neglected us in terms of representation, including people living with disabilities. You have everyone properly represented. So when any issue is being discussed, you have someone from a particular demography speaking to their realities, not just defending the interests. I'll give you an example why you need to have young people in the cabinet. There are several issues today that when you place such issues on the table, the perspective of a 50-year-old or a 60-year-old will be far, far different from the perspective of a 25 or 30-year-old, because they are generations apart. And different generations have varying understanding of different issues. So you need to strike that balance. When the older generations are speaking to their own realities, you also have Gen Ys, Gen Zs also speaking to their own realities. There are many people who are not digital natives, people in their 60s, people in their 50s, 70s, they are not known to be digital natives. But people 40 and downward, they are known to be digital natives. We were born into technology. So their understanding of several issues is quite different from the understanding of issues of some. So when you bring digital natives to the table, where you have the digital immigrants, yeah, they are called digital immigrants. When you bring them to the table, you are going to strike a balance. And that's what the governor has achieved. And that's why today when you see our policies and programs, you will notice that there is some kind of balance in virtually everything. When you are speaking to issues, you have young people offering their own perspective, you have older generations offering their own perspective, you have women also offering their own perspective. So it's been an advantage for the governor to bring young people on board. And when you check the cabinet, when you look at the senior officials of government, you notice that more than 50% of them are people below 40. And that's a big deal. It's a big deal because they are able to relate with issues affecting their generations. And that way you also have lesser crises dealing with young people. Because when you are debating issues affecting them, you have people of their generation who contributed to such debate. And they understand them. Like Yoruba will say that do you understand? So the advantages have been huge, to be honest with you. We have achieved inclusion, we have achieved balance, we have achieved cohesion. We have young people coming together with older people, and what you achieve in the process is harmony, which is the name of the state. Okay, ordinarily when you are awarding a contract, you put completion date to it. But it is also understood that those completion dates are tentative in nature, because when you are dealing with construction, for instance, a number of issues always come up in the process. You can always estimate that this particular project will be completed at so date, but they are subject to some market pressures, they are subject to geography, such as rain and some other things. When those things happen, you are prisoners of those factors. So you need to continue to look at those factors and see how you achieve the best within the circumstances that you have. The tanker bridge, give or take, should be completed by the end of March, early April. That's what we are looking at. Because again, you look at when that contract was awarded, how much was the exchange, what was the exchange rate? There was a time in this country, I think last year or thereabout, that in a space of about 2 months, exchange rate almost doubled, naira to dollar. And these are things, when you look at the components of the bridge, they are things that have to do with dollars. So there will be back and forth. It is the same thing that applied to Visual Center you have mentioned, the Innovation Hub, and some of our other projects. But we hope to complete this project as soon as possible. Now, the International Conference Center is not meant to be completed in a year or two. No, it's a project that will take more than 2 years to complete, because it's going to be a large structure. The same thing for the KWRS thing that has just started only recently. But apart from that, we have several other projects that we started and we have completed. We have the Osiobo Road, we started it, we have completed it. You have Ilele District Road. We started it, is almost 80%. The Ilesha Guanara Road is above 90% now. There are several roads within the metropolis that we have started, that we have completed. Waterworks that we started, we've completed. Dumagi, Injeba, and some other things like that. So when you go to General Hospital, we started and completed several projects there. So there are projects that we started and that we have completed. There are some that we started that they are ongoing as a result of the different factors that I mentioned to you. Well, I'm not sure I see those things as crises, if I may use your word. The only reason why a government exists is to solve problems. There will be no need for a government if you do not have any crisis, or as we call it, to solve. So every day government will always have different issues of public interest that it must address. That is why you have government. Don't forget. People won't forget the fact that there was a time that everybody was doing whatever they like. And then you started having the concept of government, started having the concept of Magna Carta and all those things. They came into being so that the society will be properly governed. You are going to defend, you are going to ensure that we do not have a situation whereby there will be free for all. So you mentioned the hijab issue, for instance. Imagine there was no government. Imagine there was no government. But government existed to mediate between the two communities to say, okay, this is the issue here, this is the issue here. Government has taken a position based on the law, and a position that government feels will engender sustainable solution. Because it is one thing for you to gloss over issues. It's another thing for you to face those issues and say, hey, this is the right thing to be done. This is what our law has said. So I do not see those things as crises. I see them as issues of government. I mean, issues of public interest that the government has been established to solve. Our attitude has been to consider the larger interest of the public. Anytime any issue crops up, the government will look at all the interests involved and determine sincerely what the larger interest of the society is. And it is based on that the government will take a position. Of course, with proper consultations with all the stakeholders, all the people that make up the society, the young people, older people, religious, traditional institutions, churches, mosques, and all those things. Government always ensures that we carry our people along in that regard, so that we hear them out, we understand what the issues are, and then we also encourage them to ensure that we also ensure that the solution we come up with solve the problem in a sustainable way. I like to read, and I think I like to write, and occasionally I watch movies. I think I enjoy excellent relationship with the media in the States, even at the national level, because I come from the same tradition. I was in the newsroom for nearly 2 decades, and I started off as a young person too, so I can understand issues from the perspective of a reporter. So I'm a publicist now, but I can tell how a reporter will feel concerning a particular issue. So when I'm reacting, when I'm responding to such issues, I am considering the mentality of a reporter. Okay? So that has helped me a lot. The fact that I'm from the same tradition has really helped me a lot. And I do not take for granted the fact that I had my days in the newsroom. But essentially, I also want to thank our colleagues in the media. They are the heroes, if I may use that word, because no government is perfect anywhere in the world. And anywhere in the world, there is nothing like absolute performance. What you always have is substantial performance. Because government does not have 100% resources of everything that it needs to fix all the problems. I appreciate their understanding, I appreciate their patience, because they are under pressure to report issues. I am also under an obligation to speak as a government spokesperson. So we manage ourselves. And I thank them for their understanding. The online media, I think in Kwara, if you ask me, is not bad, but there are rooms for improvement, if I may use that word, in the sense that there is a need for them to understand that journalism, if it is journalism you want to practice, has its rules. Journalism has its rules. There are instances where an editor will stumble on a particular copy, and they will be faced with the dilemma of reporting, breaking the news, and security of the community. Anybody who has attended journalism school will understand this, that as an editor, as a reporter, you are faced with that dilemma every day. You want your people to understand certain issues, alright? But at the same time, you need to weigh the consequences of what you put out. I think there's a need for our people to understand this, and appreciate the fact that sometimes when you report certain issues in a particular way, you cause more problems. If you think you are causing that problem for the government in power, no. You may end up hurting the society. You may end up escalating tension among different people. I think this is one area where traditional media has really excelled, and I think citizen journalists need to also incorporate that. They need to understand the fact that yes, the new media has really liberated, liberalized the media space. That is the truth, whether anybody likes it or not. At the same time, we have to consider public interest, public good. It's not enough for you to say, okay, because this person is the governor, you do not like the face of the governor, or maybe you do not like his politics in your own definition, and then you do certain things that you yourself know that if the table turns, you will not like something to be done to you. It is not enough to say, they are public officers, so they are exposed to all kinds of things. No, public officers are also human. They are also human, and they also have families. I'll give you an example. It is the culture in the traditional media that when somebody has alleged a particular crime against a particular person, the traditional media will get across to the other side and speak to them, okay? When there are development protests here and there, they will get across to the other side. There are instances that the other side will say, for the sake of this and this and this, can we do A, B, C, D? So that is not buying the media. No. It's about public interest. There are some issues that will ignite tension in the society and lead to death or destruction of lives and properties. When you report it in a particular way, you cause the problem for society in the name of I want to break the story, I want to break the story, I want to break the story. And then there are instances where somebody comes to you and says, hey, Mr. ABCD, I have a particular document that alleges that this person has stolen ABCD. Now, that is the word of that person. In this age, anybody can sit down anywhere and manufacture documents. Somebody can even decide to manipulate you. It's not everything that you read that you should read on the face value. Because if you see a particular memo that reads a particular approval, you do not have the background. What led to what? So you have just seen the approval and say, this is outrageous, and then you started writing. So by the time the truth becomes clear, you have damaged somebody's reputation. Which is why I'm sorry, I'm a strong advocate of somebody suing for libel. If you are not careful as a journalist and you libel a particular person, the person should reserve their right to pursue a case against you because it's about their reputation. When you damage someone's reputation, it's not necessarily about that person alone. Their children will grow up and see that thing. So you may damage an entire family in the name of I want to break a story. So you have to be very careful, which is why the refrain in the mainstream media is when in doubt, leave out. So forget that you are dealing with a particular individual. You have to consider the larger interest. Well, I don't know what to mean by that. Well, the thing is that if you work with a chief executive, you work with any leader at all, there are moments that, first and foremost, they are also human. Leaders are human. People must get this right. And when you are human, you are susceptible to errors. It's because you are human. When you are human, you are susceptible to pressure. When you are a leader, you face different. You are pandering to different interests, and in most cases, no particular interest is more important than the other. Do you understand? So the way I will answer your question is this. The decision-making theory, why leaders make certain decisions. If you are not in their shoes, do not guess. If you are not in their shoes, do not guess why they have taken a particular decision. A decision that may appear stupid to you is actually not stupid. It was probably taken to save lives. It was probably taken to ensure you do not have conflagration in the society. But it may appear dumb to you. But in most cases, it is not. Leaders are not fools. They take decisions within the realities available to them, and in most cases, some of these realities they cannot even share. If they share, it becomes serious crisis. Alright? So there are instances where the government will say, okay, look, we can do this, we can do that, we can do this. But if we do it, this will be the consequence. But some of those things you cannot share with the public because not everybody in the public will understand. And even in leadership, you are allowed to speak to people or to act on a particular issue based on the understanding of your people. If you push them too hard, you burn your fingers or you bring down the society. So a leader must, in most cases, bring themselves, even if they are so wise and all of that, and in most cases, you hardly have dumb leaders. That's the truth. That's what I've come to realize. No leader is dumb. No. But it takes God's grace to make a particular person a leader. When God has made a particular person a leader, that person is not dumb. No. He may appear dumb to you because of your limited understanding. He has information that you do not have. He has the stakes that you do not have. God forbid, if anything positive in quote happens to Kwara, the number one person that people will start shouting his name across the world is Mallam Rafiu Ajakaye. So if he's taking decisions, he considers all of those things. You may be a member of a civil society or something, you don't care about that. Nobody cares about, nobody knows you. So when he's taking decision, he's not taking a decision to pander to your own interest, but to pander to larger interests. So for me, this is what I have come to realize, that leaders shoulder a lot of burden for the people. They carry a lot of burden. Some of those burdens they cannot share, which is why it's often said that it is lonely up there. Last to Ajiri, I do not know. But ordinarily, my plan, if I have my way, is to lecture. Maybe go back to the classroom, or then go to the classroom and lecture.
Well, for me, I think that fits you actually. For me, I think it fits you. Okay, so we're rounding up. I think.
But I do not know my destiny. Is that we've made so much progress between 2019 and now. Some of those progress, I don't think they can be reversed. They are part of our history now. Let me give you one. If a government comes in the future and want to hire a teacher, people of course will not allow that person to hire just anybody, because a precedent has been set that you must merit that slot. That's one. So that's progress from where we are coming from. There's something that people take for granted: how your leader relates with you. We had a culture before that people saw their governor as God. I'm sorry to use that word. Or they saw them as some kind of demigods that everyone feared and all of that. But you see today, Abdurrahman Abdurazak may walk in here without anybody even getting to know. It's the only way you know him. And that's the governor of Kwara State. We've had different instances where we arrive at a particular event and they'll be asking who is the governor. Because when he comes in, he doesn't allow security agents to start molesting people like what we had in the past. So he walks in quietly, takes his seat, and he speaks when it is his turn to speak. It's a big deal. People may not know. It's a big deal. The way leaders relate with the led. The perception of the public today is that you have a very humble governor. You have a governor who is very simple and easygoing. I think that was not the culture before. Today, when a governor is driving by, Kwarans don't take note anymore. Because had abolished the culture of the convoy blaring the siren. So you hardly know that the governor is driving by. And that brings some sanity to the society. This is the big deal. Someone that has been elected into public office then disturbing public peace around. It's an anomaly, but we were used to it in this state and in some other state. Yes, maybe it has its advantages of warning people ahead, of clearing the road. Maybe. But when you look at the consequences, the downside of it, is, I think, in my opinion, the negative outweighs the positive. That's the way I see it. So, even after he serves out his term in 2027, inshallah, people will really miss him. They will really miss him because of his simple approach to issue, his humility, his willingness to listen to people, his patience. You can hardly wrong foot him. You can hardly get him to react angrily in the public. You rather keep quiet. Do you understand? He is not perfect. No one is. But he's someone that he has really taken Kwara from the abyss. Look at the education sector, look at the health sector. There are several things that we have achieved that people never thought would be here today. So, the people of Kwara State should understand that huge gains have been made and we can only consolidate. We should only consolidate on those gains. We should not reverse them. The youth demography is the most important demography in Nigeria today. If you ask me, it is now the largest voting bloc in Nigeria. Which means that they are very key to the decision-making process today.
I don't have
to that extent,
is there something else?
To that extent, that privileged position means that they need to slow down and look critically at the issues of national development. They need to marry the energy that comes with youthfulness with the patience that comes with maturity. Young people, particularly Gen Y, Gen Z, and all of those people, they are naturally aggrieved at the situation in the world, in the country. You can hardly blame them. Why? Because for many years, the country got its priorities wrong. And that meant that many of them do not have opportunities, including myself. I'm a young person myself. So they are naturally angry at the system. But that anger should be tempered. Tempered in the sense that if care is not taken, in the process of wanting to assert themselves, in the process of wanting to ensure that things are done the way they want it done, they may end up causing more problems. I'll give you an example. A situation whereby you are complaining as young people that nobody listens to you, or you are complaining that the older generations are manipulative, or you are complaining that the older generations are intolerant of your views. That's legitimate, right? But it becomes an irony when the same younger generations are unable to tolerate opposing views. It's an irony. So there is a need for them to sit back and look at this critically. The older generations are genuinely concerned about our temperament as young people. They are genuinely concerned about our intolerance of opposing views. They are genuinely concerned about our lack of maturity in handling sensitive issues. We need to look at this as young people. We need to look at issues very critically. We need to also ensure that we speak from the position of knowledge and not from position of emotion. Because whether you like it or not, 2 plus 2 is 4. Factually. You need to understand that. You can then begin to manufacture some other mathematical formula, but at the basic level, 2 plus 2 is 4. So young people need to get themselves abreast of complicated issues of governance, complicated issues of national development. They need to also be able to understand our history as a country. Nigeria fought a civil war. We fought a civil war between 1967 and 1970. Some issues led to the civil war. Looking back now, looking at what you have seen on the social media, does it look like our younger people have learned so much lessons? We need to learn from history. Our language, our interactions, the way we conduct ourselves in public, where we deal with people who do not share our opinions, people who do not share our sentiment, how do we relate with them? These are issues I want young people to look at. We have great potentials to be great leaders. We have skills, we are well educated and all of those things. But we need to sit back and properly understand our country. We need to also understand the older generations too. They are not useless. I've heard younger people saying older generations are useless. You can imagine that. They are not useless. They truly care. We didn't descend from the sky. Some people gave back to us. So sometimes, it's not every time we dismiss their sentiments. It's not every time we call them useless. It's not every time we say they are the cause of all of our problems. No. There is not a single country in the world without its own challenges. The most important thing is for us to be resolute in making our own impact positively to grow our society. So for me, the younger generation is very, very important. No government can do without them. You may want to do without them at your own peril. So any government that does not factor in the younger demography does so at its own peril. But at the same time, the younger people must make themselves relevant by acquiring the necessary skills, by understanding issues from the position of realism. You need to understand that a government deals with a lot of issues. Government may want to give you the entire 100% of the resources, but what happens to other people? How do they relate with you? So we need to begin to understand issues in their proper perspective so that we have a balanced society. Younger people are there because of older people. Older people are also there because of the younger people.